Hey there. So we've got battle challenge number 2, and I've already cleared out all the levels, so I figured I would show you guys how I got there. So now the team that I originally used was sort of like my core go-to team that you've probably seen me use on other bosses before, which includes Belle, Genie, Hero, Mickey, Baymax, and Cinderella. The team I'm actually going to use now, I highly suggest if you're struggling to get done with like the last few levels, I highly recommend that you grind out and go ahead and pick up the free unit Wizard Mini, which you get from the exchange shop. Just like the last time you got the free unit Cinderella, you get the free unit Magician Minnie Mouse this time. Definitely recommend picking her up. She's really great. She's excellent for the current event as well. If you have Rapunzel, you may not need her as much. I think if you have like the core team of Genie, Pooh, and Rapunzel, this one's going to be a cakewalk for you. But I don't have Rapunzel. I don't have Winnie the Pooh. And so Magician Minnie Mouse made this one so much easier. It actually took me several tries to beat the last level when I had Baymax, but as soon as I swapped in Magician Minnie, man, it made things so much smoother. So I'm going to show you how I do it with Magician Minnie. I will just say that, yeah, I mean, the shop is pretty much exactly the same as we saw it before. You know, all the same stuff is in there. It looks, as far as I can tell, it looks like it's all the same prices for everything. But they have increased the medal count that you get for certain levels. So I think starting at like level 20, I think the number of medals increases pretty significantly, but also so does the difficulty. So just keep that in mind. But for example, at max level, you get 350 medals to complete the max level, whereas I think in the last one you only got like 100. Might have been 150, but it definitely wasn't 350. So, you know, if you're able to beat the max level and you're able to do it in a reasonable number of turns, you know, it might be worth it to farm the max level for you. I don't know. But, you know, if you just want to kind of set it and forget it, level 10 is still really good. I will note that it does take me 2 turns to beat level 10 on auto, whereas in the past event, it only took me 1 turn, so they definitely increased the difficulty a little bit. But let's go ahead and hop in here into the max level battle. As you can see, I do have my Minnie Mouse. I have only gotten her up to LB4. And that's all you really need, because you just want to make sure that she has the level 2 defense up, level 2 attack up for all allies, and you want the reduced cost on her skill. That's really the main thing. You know, she's got a fairly decent stat line at that point too, so she's not going to be too squishy. Obviously, she could be a little bit bulkier if you got her all the way up to LB max. There aren't enough medals in the shop to get her LB max right away. You will have to you will have to log in every day, so they put some of her medals in the login rewards, so just keep that in mind. I didn't really bother doing a really good seed skill. She's got stun resist on her. I was just looking for one that had like high percent stats on it, so that's the one that I ended up with. I will say that Paralyze is definitely, if you have Paralyze resist on your units, that's going to come in handy, or if you have Rapunzel, who can remove Paralyze, that will also come in handy in this fight, because the boss does love to throw Paralyze at you. He'll also throw SP Lock at you, so if you're using Marie for an SP battery, it might be a little bit tricky. But anyways, let's show you how we get in here and get this one done with this team. I will say Hero Mickey is definitely a hero on this one because of his blue striker. The boss is weak to blue striker. So let's get in here, and I'll kind of explain how it goes. So just like before, I like to start by mostly defending, because I like to get all my buffs stacked, fully stacked, before we head into the rage phase. So, you know, when the boss is in normal mode, he's not too dangerous. There is a bit of RNG factor if he does a lot of AoE attacks, and if he paralyzes a lot of units, that can sometimes mess up the way this goes. But generally speaking, you know, I like to get 2 stacks of my buffs. We'll do some auto, you know, having units that do auto EX skills like this is going to be really important for a later phase. So we actually pushed the rage phase a little earlier than I intended to, and that's fine. Sometimes that happens. I think if we get too many critical hits, it can actually push them into rage phase on turn 1. Usually I like to do it on turn 2, but this is perfectly fine. So we're going to go ahead and double buff up again, and we're just going to go ahead and try and push this gauge down as quickly as possible. We're probably not going to get it down here on turn 2, but yeah, we'll just see. Let's do it. Okay. All right, so thankfully none of us have been paralyzed yet. All right, so he likes to do that big AoE. He paralyzed Cinderella. I will say it's only a 50% paralyzed, which means it's a 50% chance that she will not be able to do whatever action you have her do. I'm just going to leave her at normal attack here. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to attack here, and I'm going to have oh, we don't have enough SP for Minnie. Okay, in that case, we'll just go ahead and do, I was going to do Minnie this turn, but it's fine. We're definitely going to push him out of rage phase on this turn. So what I think I'll do is I'll go ahead and send Genie. Actually, you know what I think I'll do? Yeah, let's just everybody attack. This will definitely push him out. And then I'm going to heal next turn with Minnie. So let's do that. Let's just have everybody attack. That's going to build up our SP. Okay, so now we're going to heal with Minnie. We're going to do another buff with Genie, and we are going to defend with everybody else because the boss currently has 100% evasion, okay? 100% evasion. And so what that means is that all normal attacks will fail to hit him. However, skills that you use will still hit him. So any skills that you use, that includes your EX skills, will still deal damage. So all skills, including EX skills, ignore evasion completely. All right. So we're just going to do these buffs real quick. I'm then going to use Hero Mickey's skill next turn, assuming we get enough SP for all that. All right, good. We should have enough for that. So now we're going to defend here. We're going to use Belle's skill. We're going to defend here, and we're going to use Hero Mickey's skill because it will. He is weak to the blue striker, and it'll also put a defense break on the boss, which will come in handy. You notice the boss also has a 100% defense buff. So yeah, this boss is bulky boy. But this will also show you how the skill will hit the boss even though he has 100% evasion. Okay? So that's the trick to the confusion stage, and to kind of get around the evasion is you just use skills or rely on your EX skills. Okay? So now we're going to go back to doing our buffs and defending. Okay? So that we're not dealing too much damage to the boss in this phase. All right, because we don't want him to get that extra buff. Yeah, so we don't want him to get that extra attack buff from being in rage mode right there. All right, so now we're going to just do a double buff up here. All right. So we should have our full damage reduction. All right, we've now pushed him into the rage phase, but we're pretty close to killing him. All right, so here what we can do is we'll heal. And we'll just throw some attacks out there, and this should get the job done. All right, so let's heal it up. That also gives us a defense buff, and all of our attacks should finish the boss off here. There you go. All right, usually takes me 8 or 9 turns. But having Minnie on there to add those defense buffs on top of Genie's damage mitigation is huge. So when you know, that's why I mentioned the Genie Pooh combo. So folks that have Genie and Pooh on the party probably are going to have absolutely no problem with this boss. He's not going to be threatening at all. And if you have Rapunzel on top of that to get rid of your paralyze, the boss is basically toothless. So a Genie Pooh Rapunzel combo basically neuters this boss to the point of irrelevancy. But if you don't have Pooh or Rapunzel, like me, but you happen to have Genie, because maybe you pulled on the Genie banner, or maybe you've picked one up, then Minnie is a great addition to your party. She is like an instant replacement for Baymax, who I've been using as my healer. She is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. All right, as you can see, we got 300 medals there for finishing that one up. You may also notice I have a silver medallion with the number 1. I reached level 101 or rank 101 recently. So that's why I have that little silver medal there instead of the old bronze one. You get that when you reach level 101. So that's how I beat max level. But what I'm probably going to do is just sort of auto farm using this team on level 10. Still takes 2 turns to do it, but you know, it's easier to do it that way, in my opinion. And then, you know, I'll just set it on auto, and yeah, I mean, it might take 2 turns to get it done, but you know, it is what it is. I'm not too worried about it. The boss is pretty non-threatening at this point, and there you go. Yeah, it's just a two turn clear. Could probably even have it do auto attacks instead of abilities. I think we'd still get it done in 2 turns. And then that gets you 30 medals in 2 turns. And that's just a much easier one to just kind of set it and forget it. All right. But yeah, so I will just really quick point out our good man, the other unit banner. So there are the 3, well, so there's the free banner, and then there are these 2 banners. The free banners, of course, for Minnie, and then you've got Pete, and you've got Hero Mickey. Between these 2, I highly recommend Hero Mickey, especially if you have Belle. If you picked up Belle, Hero Mickey is fantastic. If you don't have Belle, but you want Hero Mickey, you can always use units like Stitch or Tinkerbell. It just takes 2 turns to kind of ramp up the crit rate boost to get his EX skill activated. So, you know, Tinkerbell or Stitch are kind of the poor man, you know, it's like the poor man's Belle, in a sense. I will say I do like a couple of things about Pete. So for one thing, you see he deals massive damage, so he's a damage dealer, but he's more of a breaker than a damage dealer. Now, he does have a really good attack line, so his attack stat is equivalent to units like Maleficent, Peter Pan, Aurora, so he's got a really good attack stat. But he doesn't have any kind of color striker, but he is a single target massive damage dealer, so that's the massive damage modifier, so instantly sort of puts him up there as far as damage dealers are concerned. And if you get him to LB1, then he gets a level 2 attack break and a level 2 defense break. And defense breaks are going to be pretty important against the event boss if you're kind of struggling. You get him to LB2, that goes up to a level 3 attack and level 3 defense break. So he's definitely more of like a breaker damage dealer. So he's, you know, I think in that sense, if we get content where breakers are going to be really important, we haven't really seen content like that yet. This event boss is the first one that's actually been sort of susceptible to breaks. I think you know, Pete in this case could be useful against the current event boss, but since his EX skill does not deal damage, he still falls way behind units like Hero Mickey, like Judy, Maleficent. I haven't put him in my damage spreadsheet in all of the tabs yet, but I have done a quick sort of damage comparison calculation on my damage calc tab. So if you do go to my damage spreadsheet, and I'll link it in the details below, you will see that I've put a few different versions of Pete in there. The reason why I did different versions, if you notice, his EX skill says every 2 turns it's a level 2 attack up to himself and a level 2 defense up to himself for 3 turns. So it's basically self-sustaining, and that means starting at turn 5, or I should say starting at turn 4, but at the end of the turns you can't really take advantage of the attack buff, but he does get the defense buff. But from turn 5 onwards, he has a permanent level 4 attack and defense buff to himself. It's always up because it lasts for 3 turns, but it reapplies every 2 turns. So it's basically full uptime. All right. So yeah, I mean it's definitely something to consider. I definitely don't think we can just say, that's not that big of a deal, because he is pretty good at self-sustaining his buffs. So if for some reason your buffer is gone, maybe your buffer dies, or maybe your buffer is paralyzed, or maybe your buffer is stunned or whatever, he can essentially self-sustain his own buffs, which, I think that's pretty cool, and I think it's a neat little... it's just something neat about the unit, that he is kind of self-sustaining, and he does come with really good breaks. So like I can see some potential use case scenarios for Pete where he can really excel, but in a vacuum his damage just doesn't compare to other DPS units like Hero Mickey. So if you're wondering between these two, if you're wondering who to spend on, definitely spend on Mickey, because for one thing, Pete is limited time, so we know that when he's gone, you won't see him in the general pool, and you won't be able to get him up to LB. You won't be able to get more dupes to increase his LB levels. If you're a whale, you're just going to whale anyways. You're going to pull him. So you'll definitely have uses for him in the future. But if you're an F2P like me, and you have some crystals and you're looking to pull for one of these 2 units, Hero Mickey is the clear winner between the 2. All right. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I want to go over on this one. I just wanted to show you how I cleared it out and the team that I used. I might try different teams as we go along, but I'm going to first I want to grind out the shop and buy out all the junk from the shop first. So anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the other side.